ways that I help So one of the ways that I help clients heal themselves is really getting them to figure out how to truly love themselves. Okay. That's like the basic thing, right? Because if we don't love ourselves, it's really hard to extend any love to another human being. So healing thyself is okay, what can I do every day? Every single day, it's my number one priority is to keep my own love to myself. And then you will just radiate that love to everybody in your life. Has this very much of a ripple effect, right? So, for example, there's an old saying, right? If like if mom's happy, everybody's happy in the house. So it's, oh, happy spouse, happy life, something like that. If we're taking, complete charge of our own feeling good about ourselves, that is key. And I do that through my 8 pillars of health. So I help my clients focus in on proper hydration, proper nutrition, taking care of their gut microbiome, making sure they're finding time for enough sleep, managing their stress, connecting well in their relationships, and moving their bodies sufficiently, and also taking targeted supplements to support themselves. And all these ways are actually loving themselves so that they can be more of a superhuman and then be able to extend that love out to the whole world.
Thank you. One question on the page is, what is holistic health? Who would like to share their how they would describe holistic health? Dawn, I think I see some ideas brewing in your head.
Holistic health to me is understanding each system that you have. I remember when I was much younger, like 30 years ago, going to a naturopath, and he'd say, "Great, you're eating really well. Great, you're exercising really well. What are you doing for your mental health?" And I looked at him like, "Well, I'm sane. What do you mean? What am I doing for my mental health?" And now, as I'm much older, I understand a lot better that if we're not connecting daily, and I love how everybody says, yes, you can do a 3-minute meditation. Absolutely. Sometimes if I'm having a rough day, I'll put a timer on my phone for every hour so that I can go, am I? Yeah, yeah, I'm in the right spot. If I'm not, bring it in. Bring it in, connect, get to the right spot so that I can, as Terry was just saying, put that out to the world. Because if I'm not in the right spot, how am I supporting anyone else around me? And that's my job here, is to be the support for everyone else around me.
Mhm.
And so to me, that is holistic health, making sure that every part of our system is connected so that we are responsible for our own selves and not causing more of the problem than we are solving.
Thank you. Yep. Cindy, do you have something to add to that? Her comment?
Well, I think that was beautifully said.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say that holistic also is our relationship with our planet, right? So, however that manifests to you, and I think the easiest way is going to be the next panel. And that's really what we nourish ourselves with in a physical sense is food. And we have to have such a variety of food that we grow the different bacteria, the good bacteria in our microbiome, right? And I really absolutely believe that if people eat widely, eat lots of colors, and eat seasonally, they're just, it's easier to be healthy. And I know that we haven't really talked about emotions, and emotions are really what lead us. But what's fabulous is when you eat like that, you're going to just be happier, not feel heavy. When your digestion can't work because you're eating, I'm going to pick on Doritos again, because you're eating Doritos, um, you're just not gonna, you're simply not gonna feel well. And then you're gonna get depressed. And then you're gonna separate from other people. And what do we have? A loneliness epidemic across the world. But I think all of us here are people that are not lonely, right? We want to reach out to other people, to help heal other people. And for a really fantastic reason, because we believe in collaboration and community. And lots of other people on this planet are just captured by corporations, what they can buy. And
Mhm.
we're simply saying it's not about what you buy, it's what you have relationships with.
Mhm.
That is holistic health. Spirit, emotions, your physical body, right? And what I want people to understand more than anything else is it's not difficult. It can be easily in your lifestyle. So take care of all your domains.
Thank you. Paige, I would like to ask you a question. What is something that you do that would be different from other people? That can you think of something?
That's a question for me.
Yes.
I have a unique take on things, and that is based on my own personal experience of needing to find additional resources, and I can connect other people with those resources based on where they are in their health journey, for instance, with emotions or brain health and brain injury.
Mm-hmm.
And I found a wide variety for myself, from neurofeedback to therapeutic horseback riding and also nutrition.
Wonderful. I know we'll get to hear more from you soon. So thank you very much for popping on and answering a question. Alicia, same question. What is something you do that you think is different from what other people do?
I would say I'm just like really big on consciousness is creating everything. So, like earlier how Cindy was saying, like if you eat better, you'll feel better. Like I'm like a chicken before the egg kind of person, someone who doesn't crave healthy foods, doesn't love themselves or is carrying shame, and there's like a reason why they don't eat that way. And so we need to back it up instead of just like forcing someone to eat or exercise or things like that. So I'm all about like shifting your thoughts, beliefs, your emotions, so you're getting to the root cause so that it's really effortless for you to do things that are like nurturing for yourself. Like when you're in the consciousness of love, it's so natural. You just like don't want the same things that you wanted before. Like I used to eat fast food, breakfast, lunch, dinner, and that was when I was like carrying a lot of shame and like did no healing work. And then every single day I crave healthier foods than the day before without forcing it. It's just like I want it, I crave it. Um, and yeah, so I'm just like really big on like quantum physics and like getting to the root and like shifting your consciousness first before you take any action so that it's effortless and it's inspired and it's sustainable forever and you don't have to force yourself or like effort.
Cool. Thank you. Wonderful. Okay. Cynthia Terrell, what is a special talent that you have? Is there something we don't know about you? Remember to unmute yourself.
Does kind of help, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
I don't really talk about it a lot, but I actually do vibrational sound healing as a side gig because I'm really big into energy. Energy
Mm-hmm.
is very powerful in the healing process. We tend to forget about that. And we're surrounded by a lot of stuff that impacts us in a negative way. And when you bring in the singing bowls, it's giving me chills just talking about it. And I
Mm-hmm.
have fallen in love with the gong.
Oh, yeah.
Gongs are so, in my opinion, incredibly primal. Like when I play that thing, I feel like I'm going back into the ancient times. It's just, yeah. So I do sound baths and I work with tuning forks and stuff like that. So in addition to my physical side of the nutrition stuff, I do have the vibrational sound healing part of it, which, yeah, which to me, like I said, is very much a very healing modality in and of itself that complements everything very well too.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Mhm.
Gloria, how come you reacted so much to what Cynthia said? I saw you get excited. I remember.
About,
Yeah.
about the sound energy.
Yes.
I have recently started to, I've used sound for quite a while when I do energy healing work.
Mm-hmm.
And I have recently started to delve into energy as a creation mode. Moving into the ascension process and coming from like taking yourself into out of 3D and into like 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 dimensional levels and turning around connected with source and doing I've been experimenting with healing on myself from a perspective of being detached like you are in medicine so that you are not part of with the experience you're having and you can just immediately time lapse the healing process. And so sound, when I started to integrate that, I currently have a wound that I've been working with and use everything as an opportunity. And so working with that, when I incorporated even the memory of the sound and a memory of the vibration from Mongolian throat singing, it immediately changed the morphology within my body. And I was so impressed. And so sound is like my current go-to thing for exploration. So it's always exciting.
Cool.
Can I just add to that real quick?
Sure.
Is you carry an instrument with you every day, and that's your voice, and you can actually hum. And humming will actually create some very positive
Right.
movement in your body as well.
Right. I was using the Omne Padme initially, and as you stand up, your lungs expand, and so you can actually take deeper breaths and make that hum longer and longer, and you can close the throat like you close your lips so that you can also intensify the length and the duration. I'm just so excited.
Toning too. Toning's another really magical, which is
Thank
kind
you.
of a combination of humming and stuff too. But yeah.
Thank you. I'll look into that one too.
Mhm.
How much longer do we have, Cindy?
Actually, we're unfortunately having to go to the next panel, but fortunately, because it's going to be nutrition, and I know you're one of the speakers on it.
That's right.
Okay. So I am going to be pinning all the people, and I want to make sure that we share all this important information. And I want Patrice to start us off.
Excellent. I am very excited to get started here with our nourishment for peak health. This is something near and dear to my heart. It's played a big part in my life for healing, maintaining health, and just a big part of well-being. And we have 4 panelists, 2 on this one, and I'm going to start off first with Terry Roman, excuse me, who is a certified in integrational nutritional health coach and founder of Terry Total Health. And she has a very strong passion for the gut, brain, health, and longevity. And she guides high achieving professionals to renew their energy, prevent chronic illness, and age youthfully. And through natural, nourishing habits that support mind, body, and soul. And the first question I have for Terry is, how do I know if I'm truly nourishing my body or just eating what looks healthy? Really going deep on that one is nourishment. Terry? Are you muted, Terry? I don't see you yet. So.
Sorry, thank you so much for letting me unmute myself. Well, thank you so much, Patrice, for the question. And it's a really great question, and it's so important because a lot of us can look healthy, but are we truly nourished?
Mm.
Right? And I can speak from being a social worker for nearly 3 decades that I looked pretty healthy when I was working, but I wasn't really taking time to nourish myself the way that I am now. Okay. And how do I know that? Because I was feeling chronic fatigue. I
Mm.
was feeling exhausted, mentally exhausted. I mean, I was working about 60 hours a week. So, yeah, the job was taking a toll on me and I didn't really realize it. But I also was feeling chronically anxious. I was feeling about a little bit about apathetic, just kind of like a little numb. I had to force myself to, you know, be happier. And also I was getting bloated. And I didn't even realize I was getting bloated. I had trouble sleeping at night. There was all these little things. So what you do is take a look at what are you doing to truly nourish your body, which is really about eating real whole food. In my opinion, the highest quality food you can put into your gut is going to have tremendous effects, not only on your physical health, but also on your mental health, and your emotional health, your social health, and it also leads to your financial health because of your productivity. Okay, so when I think of nourishing, eating the most nutrient dense food possible, however, it's really important to keep a log a lot of times to figure out what works specifically for your body. What I see happening a lot of times, and I know this because I had 28 different food sensitivities at one time, and now I've reversed that condition down to 8. But you will feel so differently if you eat, for example, one food versus another. And when you write that connection down, for example, if I eat eggs, I will get a little bit of dizziness afterwards. And guess what? Eggs are on my food sensitivity list. So I know I need to avoid eating eggs. However, a lot of people will say, Eggs are the most nutrient dense food. Eat the eggs, right? So I take a different approach into health by saying, figure out how these different foods affect you. It's really hard to do that, by the way, but if you start writing it down and writing down how you feel afterwards, that's a great start. Okay. So pay attention. Does your food energize you? Or does it make you sleepy? Or does it cause bloating? Case in point, when I had the food sensitivity testing done, I thought, oh, I got this under control. After 1 month, after giving up all those foods that were, by the way, healthy foods, things like almonds and coconuts and cashews and, oh, pistachios and all kinds of real whole foods. But I eliminated those, and within a month, I lost 12 pounds. My husband did the same. He lost 20 pounds. Okay. So food does matter and how you're thinking. And then I still, after about a year, was still having bloating in the morning. Like, what am I doing that's causing this? So I decided to experiment with coffee. I stopped drinking my regular coffee and the bloating went away. Now, to a lot of people, they say, well, coffee is a health food, right? And I say, it depends if it's good for you or it's not good for you. Okay. Sometimes coffee, it has a lot of mold in it a lot of times. So looking for a coffee that is mold free can be helpful. Uh, so anyway, just pay attention to that. And besides what you're putting into your body, you're wanting to pay attention just as much as what you're putting on your skin. How are you nourishing your skin? Some people say, and I tend to agree with this, if you can't ingest it, don't put it on your skin because it goes into your bloodstream immediately. So for my skin, for example, I use only 3 different products: castor oil, coconut oil, or olive oil. And that's what I use to hydrate, okay, my skin. And also taking a bath, for example, in Epsom salts, which have a great amount of magnesium, can be so nourishing as well. So the magnesium gets absorbed into your skin right away and gives you a very relaxing type of effect. So that can be really nourishing. How is your sleep routine? Are you winding down at night a couple hours before bed, not having the electronic devices on? Are you just kind of trying to do a brain dump, what I call, like thinking about your day and just trying to, maybe you do some journaling or some gratitude type of practice in the evening. Um, Another thing could be making sure you're nourishing yourself with really good relationships that lift you up. Pay attention to people's energy. Sometimes when we're around different people, we get more energy from them. When certain people, they may not, like Alicia was talking about the consciousness. I'm a big proponent of David Hawkins' scale of consciousness myself. And the book Power versus Force is extremely good about that. And I was asked on that one time, well, where do you want to live? And it's like, I want to live in the peace and the joy part. I don't want to be living always in the anger, fear part, right? So take a look at your environment. How are you nourishing yourself?
Wow, that is a total in-depth look at that. In many areas of nourishment I never even thought of. And our next presenter is Mary Lummerding, and she's a fully trained chef who coaches home-based professionals to make easy, helpful meals to break the cycle of takeout and delivery. According to Chef Mary, cooking can be fun and easy. And the first question I have for Mary, if you're there, Mary,
Yes, I'm here.
there she is. What are some simple, quick meals to make in under 20 minutes that leave you feeling energized and satisfied?
Thanks for the question, Patrice. And yeah, it's great to be here and be able to encourage people to cook for themselves. Um, we heard from Alicia how the fast food route doesn't nourish us and give us energy. Um, there are ways to have your kitchen stocked and set up so that dinner preparation can be really easy. You can spend some time through the day and do some vegetable prep, like chop the onions or get your vegetables ready for a stir fry. And then when it's time to make your dinner, then you can just heat up your fry pan and toss in the vegetables and um, use. I know some people don't like canned products, but canned beans, pulse beans like garbanzo beans or black beans, make a really easy, full balanced meal with the vegetables, your protein. And then if you like to have the starch, you can cook up some rice. The rice can cook while the vegetables are cooking, and it'll all be ready in about 10 to 15 minutes. So it'd be really easy to make. And another way of making meals easy is to use a slow cooker. On a day that when you have lots of time, you can make dinner in the morning and let it cook all day, and the house will smell amazing. And then when it's time to have dinner, it's all ready to go, which I like doing because I like to go in the garden during the day, and then I can just have dinner ready for me. And it's usually like I have a big slow cooker, so I make extra and I can put the extra in the freezer and then have a heat and serve meal. And lots of vegetables. I actually went out in the garden and picked some today, and I wanted to show off some of my vegetables.
Right.
So I brought some to show off.
Ooh,
This
lovely.
is one of the
Fresh pick.
tomatoes. This is called a Ruth's Perfect, and it's for slicing and putting in your sandwich. I didn't bring a knife, so I can't show you how pretty it is inside. Then this is a Carolina Gold. So that's, so you can see it against my, then you can see the color.
Oh, yeah. There's the gold.
Anyway, and then we have lots of little tomatoes. This is a Principe Borghese, and they produce really well. And the peppers did really well this year. So
Ooh,
we
look at
have,
those.
yeah, there's a green pepper. And this weighs probably 8 ounces, like it's a very thick walled one. And then we had a very hot summer in Victoria, and our peppers turned red. This is the first year that we've had red peppers. So we've
Wow.
got poblanos that turn red, and we're going to smoke them tomorrow and make our own ancho powder for the first time.
You're making me
So,
hungry, Mary.
but yeah, you can just stick your thumb in and push in the middle and then pull it apart.
Oh,
And then you have your pepper, and you can see that's a really nice thick walled pepper.
very nice.
And then just pull out the stem,
Huh.
and then good old virtual backgrounds, eh? But and it smells marvelous. I wish we could pass it around and everybody could
We,
smell how good the pepper. But
so do we.
we'll be making spaghetti sauce. And one of my friends came over yesterday, and we chopped up the vegetables, so we'll just throw them into the pot tomorrow and cook a lot of spaghetti sauce. It'll be enough for the year.
Oh, the bounties of the garden, hey?
Yes. So I just wanted to show off a little bit.
I
Yeah.
love it. I love it. That's wonderful. And our next presenter is Cindy Terrell, who is a certified Ayurvedic practitioner, vibrational sound therapist, and nutrition coach with a deep passion for natural health and wellness. She specializes in supporting midlife women as they gracefully navigate the unique changes of this powerful stage of their life. And by blending, excuse me, the ancient wisdom of Ayurveda and holistic nutrition coaching, she creates personalized programs that honor each individual, their individual needs, to empower her to thrive with vitality, have renewed energy, and flourish in the stage of life. And I just got to put in here. We had a talk with Dawn earlier. I'm feeling a little bit of congestion. I should go out and get my mullein flowers.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But anyway, sorry about that, Cindy.
No, you're fine.
Yeah. So the first question for Cindy is, how does blending ancient wisdom like Ayurveda with modern nutrition help people make smarter, more mindful food choices that support long-term health and vitality?
Very good. It's the more I delve into all this stuff, the more I realize that the ancient people knew what they were talking about. You know, they somehow kept themselves healthy, right? And what they had was Mother Earth and all that she has to offer. Um, but what really drew me to the Ayurvedic side of things is the fact that they get to root cause, and it's about balance in mind, body, and spirit. So although it has a very uh, focus on the food aspect of things, I also like the fact that it is a time-tested approach to health and wellness that, to me, in a lot of ways, um, takes some of the modern perspectives on health. And it's one of those things that helps you make mindful food choices so that you can sustain health and vitality. And it is about promoting longevity in a healthful way. It honors your body's natural rhythms and in your individuality, as well as teaches you self-care rituals that you're really not going to get in the more modern aspect of things. I mean, one of the practices that I do every time before I take a shower is what they call it's called Adhyanga, but basically it just means a hot oil massage. So talk about it not only hydrates your skin, it helps move lymph, it helps settle the nervous system. It has a multifaceted what do I want to say? Benefits that you wouldn't get in a traditional coaching, nutrition coaching course. So so I like blending the two. Not everyone's going to want to do the Ayurvedic approach, but there's a lot to learn from what the ancients brought to us. So it's yeah, I don't know what else to say.
I totally agree. I mean, there's such a wealth of from the ancient wisdoms and medicines and traditions, and it's there. So please, please, I'm grateful that you're utilizing it and sharing that.
Yeah. I think the other thing to keep in mind also is I think modern times we tend to overcomplicate things. And that's the other thing that I like about it. It brings us back to simplicity. It doesn't have to be complicated. And in fact, the more simple it is, the more in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
And it helps you tune into your body. It encourages you to tune into your body as well as, it just makes you pay attention to your food more. So you know what you're bringing in is something that resonates with you versus I'm just going to eat because I got to eat,
Yeah. Just go a little bit deeper there. How does it help you tune in more to your food?
Because Ayurveda encourages you to pay it. I mean, Terry kind of touched on it a little bit too. Is like does it work with your body, or is it something that you're just doing without any mind? You want to bring mindfulness to it. So when you bring mindfulness to the choices that you're making for what you put into your body, you are going to not it's going to maximize the benefits, and it's going to maximize it's telling you that there's something in there that your body needs or is looking for. So for example, if you had, this is a really simple one, but if you had like a glass of orange juice from a milk carton versus a glass of orange juice from a freshly squeezed orange, and you did a test to see which one you might be more drawn to, I mean, the likelihood is you're going to be drawn to the fresh squeezed just because
Yeah.
it's going to be more potent in what it's got to offer you. And that's just a really simple test. But you can do like spices and herbs and spices. It's one of those things. It's like, it's almost like muscle testing. Are you familiar with muscle testing?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. It's something like that, but you're using it with an actual food product. I
Mm.
mean, when you can go grocery shop, a lot of times I'll go grocery shopping. I don't go grocery shopping. I go to the farmer's market. And it's like, okay, that looks good. That looks good. You know, I'm not attracted to everything, but what I am attracted to is ideally what my body's looking for. So
Beautiful. I love that.
food imparts an energy. And what kind of energy is your body looking for?
And it's a matter of paying attention, hey?
Exactly. Yep. Yep.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you. So next we have Paige Spears, and after surviving a pulmonary embolism and anox anoxic brain injury at 32, Paige channeled her innate resilience into recovery, finding whole person focused therapies centered around bringing all her systems into balance in a way that would fill in the pieces and complement the standard medicine. This brought in Paige's entrepreneurial vision of connecting others under-supported brain injury survivors with integrative and functional medicine resources and practitioners, providing options to choose in alignment with their highest health potential. And additionally, speaking and writing about her recovery path has been a focus. I love that highest health potential. Ooh, welcome, Paige. You're there?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yay.
Thank you,
Okay.
Patrice.
And so your first question, what is the common situation of standard medical treatment options for mental emotional challenges?
It's pharmaceuticals all the way. That's what standard medicine has. And that's what gets people like me into trouble, who it turns out have a unique sort of genetic and epigenetic situation when it comes to pharmaceuticals and their interactions. Since I had taken doxycycline prescribed by a family provider for acne in high school, and that did some damage to my microbiome initially, and that was further compounded by the resulting anxiety, and that was not helped by the further prescriptions of anti-anxiety medications, and both of those being benzodiazepines and SSRIs, which have dependency effects. And so I had that going on. And I took that also in combination with hormonal birth control for the better part of 12 years. And that, I'm thinking, is all of what caused the blood clots in my lungs. So that was the situation there, and some of the things that can happen with that.
Wow, wow. But I'm so happy that you had that resilience and that you looked beyond and now that you're loving to share that with others. And I think too, like even whether you have a brain injury or not, you said, like to your highest health potential. So it's so wonderful to be able to bring awareness to the other alternatives and what your other options are.
And
So
also speaking on behalf of the Brain Injury Association of America, Brain Injury Association of Missouri, and the National Blood Clot Alliance.
yay! All right. So, and as I see and I look at you and I can see you're very vibrant and in good, healthy condition now. So kudos to you for taking that journey. Okay, we're going to go for another round here. Back to, oh, did I catch everyone there? Yeah, I got everybody. Okay, back to Terry. So Terry, your next question, if you're there,
Mhm.
what role does emotional nourishment play in my physical health, and how do I start addressing it?
Thank you for that question, Patrice. Well, it's really super important to understand that we have this bi-directional communication that's going on between the brain and the gut constantly. So whatever you're feeding your gut is going to feed your thoughts. And whatever thoughts you're having, right, are going to affect your gut and how you feel. So emotional nourishment is just really just as important as the food that we're eating, right? So how I like to think about this is three steps. Managing the mind. The mind, by the way, is the root of all suffering. If we can manage the mind, we're really good. So managing the mind, releasing the emotions is step two, and controlling the animal or your body, whatever you want to say. But I like to think of it in that term, in those terms. So, what thoughts are we having, right? Because our thoughts are going to create our emotions and it's going to turn into some type of behavior, right? So if we're having a negative thought, maybe about our loved one, our spouse, or whatever, it's going to come out perhaps as anger. And that could lead to maybe some communications that are not real positive with that person, right? So, really, to have an awareness. It starts with your awareness of what thought am I having, right? And what am I feeling? Identify what you're feeling and then just take a pause and before you do anything, just take a pause before you decide what behavior you're going to choose. So I tell my clients if you can't digest your food, you can't really digest your life. So it's really super important to learn how to deal with our emotions. And one of the biggest things that I like to talk to people about is having a release system in place for their emotions. And it's the Sedona method, which is a long time practice. And it's really getting you to number one, there's 5 steps to it. Number one is identify what emotions you're feeling right now. So you can do this with yourself, and you can also do it with somebody else. So, what is the emotion that I'm feeling is the first question. Oh, I'm feeling powerlessness, or oh, I'm feeling anxiousness, or I'm feeling really angry towards somebody, or I'm feeling fearful. Whatever it is you're feeling, identify it, articulate it, know what you're feeling. Brene Brown has an awesome book called Atlas of the Heart, and she goes into over 60 different emotions that we don't even realize sometimes that we're having, right, as a human experience. So getting really uh, in tune with how you're feeling is step one. Then making friends with all of your emotions. So I say, how can I welcome in these feelings that I have right now? And just welcoming you, sit and maybe you close your eyes, identify the feeling. Now I'm going to welcome in the feeling, and then I'm going to ask myself, could I let this feeling go? Could I let all these feelings go? And the next question, number 4, is would I be willing to let these go? And sometimes it's hard for people to let them go. And they'll say, and I'll just say, just for now, can you let it go? Would you let it go just for now? And then the last question is, when will I let it go? And you want to get to now. So when you do this process, you can just go through these steps yourself, and it takes less than a couple minutes to actually do this typically. And if you see somebody else struggling with their emotions, then you can invite them to do the Sedona method with you. Hey, would you mind? Would you like me to help you process your emotions right now? And just taking a few minutes to do that can be so powerful. Asking, so what are you feeling right now? Can you welcome that emotion in? Could you let that feeling go? Would you let it go? And when? Such a simple thing. And once you do this over and over and over again, it becomes second nature. And you can release your emotions very quickly and not let them fester. Okay, that's the key point. You want to be able to release your emotions, let them go, and move on. I had heard a really good TED talk with Andrew Huberman and this other fellow who was into emotional intelligence, and he had talked about a method of just making sure you're understanding that our emotions are just visitors and they'll go bye-bye. so so it's really helping our children, right? That's another thing, helping our children understand that. And he gave an example of how this 5-year-old, they're trying to implement EQ or emotional intelligence into the school systems now. And this little boy was having a little trouble, and this particular therapist said, would you like to talk about it? Goes, you know what? I'll be fine. I know that these feelings are just visitors. And I thought, well, how beautiful is that, right?
That is wonderful.
So, yeah. So anyways, but hey, you think about the people, who nourish you, and take responsibility is the really key, right? For nourishing our own joy and happiness in our life. So if I am feeling a certain way, I know I have the ability to get out of that feeling and get into a higher level of consciousness and the joy and the peace and the love. So yeah, that'll make it.
Beautiful, beautiful. Another whole different look. Okay, Cindy, you're next. And your next question is, how does the quality of the food we choose influence our body's ability to nourish and enable it to be more resilient?
Yeah, that's a great question. I like to look at it as, what we take into our body is what our body uses to build our cells in our systems and our organs and the whole 9 yards, because our cells are turning over all the time. So that's one of the reasons why we do need to eat. Also feeding the gut microbiome is also a critical part of it. So I like to use the 3 pig analogy. If everyone remembers that from the fairy tales, you've got your 3 little pigs. that you've got the guy the one pig who's building their house out of straw, the one that's building their house out of sticks, and then the one that's building their house out of bricks. And you can kind of approach food in that same way. If you're looking at the guy who's building their house out of straw, well, that's going to be your ultra processed foods. Ultra processed foods are basically anything that's coming out of a lab or a factory. It's devoid of any nutrients. It's calorie dense, nutrient deficient. And I've seen a lot of talk about people they'll be overweight, but actually in starvation mode. basically because of their food choices, they are not nourishing their body and giving it the building blocks that it needs to be resilient. And that's really important. And the more people understand that what they put in their mouth has a huge impact on how they feel and how their health is going to be moving forward, the better off we're going to be. So avoiding things or making it a very minimal part of your overall food intake is really important. So as I said, that's the example of the straw house. The examples of the stick house, which took me a little bit to come up with, but so it's going to be a little bit better, obviously, than the straw, not quite as good as the brick. And that's going to be your what you can call minimally processed foods, things like, you know, your canned vegetables and fruits, your frozen vegetables and fruits and stuff like that, pasta sauce. So anything that you're getting out of a package. That you can recognize where it came from. And it's not being done in a factory or lab setting. And then you've got your bricks. So that's going to be your whole natural foods, single ingredient. You can really control what's going into your body, you know, exactly, you know, how it's being seasoned, how it's been grown, how it's been farmed in all aspects if you're doing meat products and stuff like that. That's going to be your most nutrient dense. That's going to be the stuff that your body recognizes, it knows how to process, and you're just going to maximize the health benefits from the whole thing. And obviously it's going to be the most resilient. And I'm going to bring in a little piece too about the energy. As I mentioned previously, there is an energy that the food imparts, and you can think of it. A great example of this is think of a recipe that your grandmother made, and it gets handed down to somebody else in the family, and it never tastes quite the same as grandma. And that comes from a whole different, you know, that's not only because of the love that she has put into that food. So that's another point. If you're angry or upset, don't cook. And don't eat because your digestion is not going to be very good. And you can look at food, the way it's grown, and it are the people that, which is why I like going to the farmer's market, because I don't have the although I'm going to have to reconsider that. I might have to do some inside stuff. But anyway, you know, if you can't grow it yourself or raise it yourself, your next best thing is the farmer's market and understanding what kind of energy they have within themselves, because that food carries it. So if it's, you know, think about it on these large commercial farms and the stress that these animals are under. You're eating that stress that those animals are under. And you think of, you know, out in the fields, if someone's angry and not happy with their work, you know, so there's a whole other aspect of eating and nourishing that Western society doesn't really take into consideration. So it's those little nuances that can really make or break the optimal nourishment of the food. So yeah.
I love that. Bricks. I'm inspired to have more brick diet.
Yes, I do that myself.
Yeah. Okay, Paige. Your next question. What problems can result from pharmaceutical first approach rather than nutrition?
The pharmaceutical first approach is the problem, since it doesn't take into account the underlying issues that nutrition can solve more readily. And so what I would like to see happen is that nutrition first approach being more front and center with emotional health diagnosis. And for instance, nutritional psychiatry, if it had been available in 2004, could have saved me all the trouble that I've been through, although I've since learned that it likely all was nutrition behind it. And 8 months of twice weekly neurofeedback sessions in my first year post-injury, combined with more personalized nutrition and supplements, put my anxiety into permanent remission. And yeah, that's what happened once I had a hard stop with the pharmaceuticals right then in May of 2016 when it happened. And I got just enough out of that inpatient detox and needed a reset from there. And that's where the neurofeedback and nutrition came in. And I also lost all the weight that the anti-anxiety medications put on.
Wow. Wow. And that I've never heard of a nutritional psychologist.
Yeah, nutritional psychiatrist. It's a psychiatrist who has a background in nutrition and functional nutrition testing.
Beautiful. Well, I learned something new. Thank you, Paige.
Yeah, and I do a lot of what the other panelists have mentioned with food. And my approach is every week I choose recipes that I'd like to make and can make a grocery list from there. And then I batch prep the vegetables and spice mixes ahead of time.
All right. All right. And to ensure that you do get that nutritional goodness into you and maintain your optimum health. Okay, we're on to the final round here. Back to Terry. How can I create simple, nourishing rituals that feed my soul, especially when life feels overwhelming?
Thank you so much for the question, Patrice. Well, one of the biggest things we need to stop or to look at is just to really reconnect with ourselves, right? So, what is it that fuels our soul? Okay. Identify those things, write them down so that you know what really lights you up, what makes you feel alive, what brings you just a really good sense of peace and joy and just really contentment with yourself, right? So one of the things that I'll say is think about after you figure that out, what would you like to start doing? And do some little rituals. It can be in the morning, you can have some during the day that you do, and some during the evening. For example, connecting with nature is one of the things that I love to do. So in the morning, getting into the sunlight and taking a walk, right? Maybe I do some earthing, connect with nature, maybe hug some trees, touch some plants, just doing anything just to kind of nourish myself for that day, right? So that's one thing. And it doesn't have to be for very long. I tend to go maybe half an hour to an hour, depending on the day in the mornings. But I mean, do what works for you. So another thing that I like to do even before I do that is number one is taking some lemon water and some herbal tea and listening to some positive affirmations or doing a little bit of meditating, sometimes doing some prayer, some type of gratitude practice. I love also, I change it up a lot. Sometimes I'll listen to just something that just is heartwarming, right? Some great story. There's one really good story about the butterfly story, and it goes like this. The butterfly, there was a butterfly in the cocoon, and a man started seeing that the butterfly was struggling to get out of the cocoon. So he snips the cocoon, right? And the butterfly drops out and it just crawls and it passes away. And unfortunately, that butterfly needed to have a little bit of struggle in order to have the wings to fly. So remember too that those kind of stories that those fill my soul because it's getting back to thinking about how often we are quick to jump in and try to help someone, but sometimes the helping is allowing that person to do their own struggles, right? You can be there as a guide for them. Sometimes the best thing you can do for someone is simply to listen, right? Two ears, one mouth, listen to someone. That's maybe all the help that they need. They don't need our advice. Most times people know that to do. So, anyway, getting in touch with that, also chewing your food really good and just enjoying it, savoring it, taking those deep breaths, getting in touch with maybe some your purpose in your life, and reflecting and keeping that, front and center as you're going through your days. Okay.
Excellent, excellent. And I love that butterfly analogy. That's stuck to my mind now. Okay, Mary, your last question. What's one small change a person can make this week in in the cooking routine that would move them closer to peak health?
Thank you, Patrice. One small change, Paige already touched on it, is doing the batch preparation, preparing your food ahead of time, doing the chopping and planning. First of all, planning, and then when you when you have some time, you can take a break from work or whatever you're doing and just chop vegetables. It's quite meditative and relaxing. And cooking is very physical. You're bending and stretching and lifting. It's very good for you. So it's very helpful to go in the kitchen sometimes during the day and just get some of the food ready so that when it's time to make dinner, it's very easy to put the things together. And yeah, that's
I think
just,
I missed you on the last round too, Mary, that
yeah,
question. So I'm going to put it to you now too.
okay,
Sorry about that. So
yeah.
how do you keep healthy ingredients on hand so cooking feels easy instead of overwhelming? And I think that kind of feeds into this
It
question that you
does.
already get that. Yeah.
Yes, yes. It's keeping your pantry stocked up. And yeah, not everybody has the ability to grow their own vegetables and process them. Um, People look at my garden and they go, what a lot of work. And it's actually good work, Once again, it's lifting and stretching and getting out in nature. But yeah, if you can get organic vegetables that are frozen, the flash freezing is really holds in the nutrition. So, you know, but having a good range of food, if possible, on your shelf, then that helps. Um, then, or if you can go to the farm market in the summertime and get, extra peppers and things. Peppers are really easy to freeze. We actually froze 7 pounds last week. We got
Wow.
together in the evening and we chopped all the peppers and I laid them out on a tray with parchment paper, and then they just crumble up and put them into a bag in the freezer. And they're quite
Oh,
pretty too because we have the yellow and the green and the red peppers. So
beautiful.
and then when I'm cooking, all I have to do is reach in the freezer and grab a handful of peppers that are already chopped up. And it's
Yeah.
much easier for doing the stir fries. And um, yeah, we just find ways to. I was talking to one of my friends, she's a chef as well, about, all this. I do the cooking coaching and I just like to solve problems in the kitchen. And she and I agreed, it's part of being a chef that's looking at for efficiencies in the kitchen and how to make it easy, because sure, you can phone and have delivery, but that food is not
Mm.
healthy. They add a lot more salt to foods that are processed and or cooked in a restaurant. When I was at chef school, I was always getting in trouble for not putting enough salt in the food.
Oh,
My when I was in high school, my mom stopped using as much salt, and so I wasn't used to using salt for flavoring. I did read Simone, that book that was really popular in Nosrat, Simone Nosrat, I think, about salt, fat, something. Anyway, I'm very visual. I have to see it, and then sometimes then I'll remember it. But she says to add the salt a little bit through the cooking, So at the beginning, add a little bit and a little bit and a little bit, and it'll help to bring out the flavors. But yeah, restaurants use a lot of salt. And you know, it's not just the processed food, it's the restaurant food as well. So like everybody's been touching on all day, if you want to be healthy, prepare your own food, you know, and use less salt. And even the rubs, I make my own rubs, and you know, it's a combination of chili powders and garlic and different flavorings. And yeah, if you buy the mix in the store, it's going to have a lot of salt in it and a lot of chemical. You know, they put extra chemical in it to keep it from sticking together sometimes. And yeah, there's a really good bulk store near me, the Bulk Barn, and I go in there and I buy all the individual spices. But
Yeah.
this year we're going to make our own ancho powders, so it'll be interesting to see how that
That,
tastes.
yeah,
Because
that,
I've read that the herbs and spices can be like years old because they always want to make sure that they've got enough supply for the market, so they control it and um, and keep some of it aside. So it's actually could be quite old when you buy it.
Hmm.
So
So
it's
grow your
crazy.
own,
You
then you
know,
really know.
you,
Yeah.
you can just go on, but you know, you have to figure out what works for you. You know, you have to figure out what you enjoy eating, what you enjoy doing, and just try and figure out how to make it work for you so that you're healthy and eating a, a balanced diet. Like Maricel was talking earlier about the quality of your health span and your lifespan. You know, the Heart and Stroke Association brought that out a few years ago as well, about the quality of your life at the end of your life. You know, and your declining years can be very quick, you know, and almost instant, really, you know. And look at Dick Van Dyke, you know, prancing around he's 100 now, I think. He was 99 when he was doing different things, like, you know, just get out there and enjoy life and figure out how to make it work. But you know, we got a lot of good ideas today from everybody.
You
But
did, and
yeah, just
I
have
know one thing, Mary, for making cooking fun, you had
yes.
mentioned before. So do you just want to add some little things for making cooking fun?
Oh, the music. You have to have music. And I've talked to people and they're like, yeah, I enjoy cooking. And I said, do you play music? And they go, no, that's a good idea. And there's different kinds of music, right? There's cooking music, cleanup music, and eating music. So
Mm,
cooking music, if I don't feel like cooking, I'm putting on Tina Turner or Uptown Funk. And you know, and you just start dancing and you're laughing and it feels really great. And then the cleanup, it has to be pretty lively too, like maybe AC/DC or something. And then for eating is more mellow, like the old blues, you know,
yeah.
and just kind of, or some good classical music. And yeah, just enjoy your time in cooking. I have a great big Bluetooth speaker that I can control with my phone, and I pay for Spotify so that I don't get the commercials. And
Yeah.
and Spotify remembers my choices, so it makes playlists for me.
Yeah.
And so I get I I actually put in a request for a dopamine mix. So Spotify put together a dopamine mix for me, which is like an uplifting. So you can search for anything and find different
Wow.
kinds of music and whatever makes you feel good, you know? But
Yeah.
yeah, that's one way of having fun in the kitchen is playing the music. And
Yeah.
if you're all alone, you get to crank it up as loud as you want, which is even better. Hmm.
Sing along with it.
Of course. Yeah.
Excellent. I love that. Thank you very much, Mary.
Thanks,
And
Patrice.
so Cindy, Your third question, for those in middle life, what are some tips you can offer them when it comes to nourishment?
Okay, I'm going to focus on the woman because that's where my where I place my focus, just because we're a unique group. Love it. And part of the reason is most of the research, especially the nutrition research, is all done on male physiques, which is why we tend to get a little frustrated in our midlife journey. So one of the things that's really important, I mean, this is important for everyone, is breathe. People have forgotten how to breathe properly. I know that's weird. We all do it, right? But there's a proper way and there's a not so proper way. And what I mean by that is you really want to make sure that you're always breathing through your nose. Your nose is made for breathing, not your mouth. The only time you should be breathing through your mouth is when you're talking or singing. And really, you should be keeping your breathing through your nose through your exercises. If you're someone who's exercising, really be cognizant of the fact that you're breathing through your nose. If you have to breathe through your mouth, it's probably too intense for you. So you need to dial it back until you get your cardio in that realm that you can keep your mouth closed. Um, Breathing into the diaphragm, really getting the diaphragm activated. I know I come from a background that had a very stressful job before I started doing what I'm doing now, and I still have to remind myself not to be all tensed up and breathing high into the chest. So that's stress breathing. That's your body's going to be in stress. So if you want to relieve that stress, it's really important to relax your shoulders and really breathe into your belly and activate that diaphragm, because not only is it's going to be more nourishing breath, but it's also going to massage your internal organs, which they like to have. So there's that. And like I said, that's for everybody, but it's really important for women to be aware of that. And it is a great stress reduction when you tap into your breath and really do that diaphragmatic breathing. Hydration is really important. I've Googled, how many people in the US are dehydrated, and amazingly enough, it was like 75% of the American population are dehydrated and they don't know it. So really pay attention to hydration. It's also very important at this stage of life for women to definitely want to be doing strength training and keeping our muscle tone intact, but you also want to make sure that you're nourishing before you go into any kind of exercise routine. Exercising in a fasted state is really not good for our bodies because it's another stress. We become more sensitive to stress at this time of life, and that's just another stress that you can easily mitigate by making sure that you've had something in your stomach before. It doesn't have to be a lot. It can be just 20 grams of protein, whatever that choice is, and you can have a little bit of, like a piece of fruit or something like that, and then go into your exercise routine. Prioritizing sleep is really important. If we're not getting enough sleep, we can talk about nutrition all day long, and lack of sleep is going to kind of derail us. If you don't have good sleep, that'll bring in a lot of the cravings people experience. It's going to add to the stress. It's going to make cortisol levels go up. And those are the kinds of things that will lead us to pack on the pounds that we're not really expecting. We haven't really changed anything, but those pounds kind of sneak up on us. And that's because we become more sensitive to things with the hormonal changes that we're doing. But it's important to lean into seasonal foods. And that's where those whole natural foods are really important. The less you stay away from the processed foods, which are just gonna, again, that's another stress on the body. People don't think about it, but the whole natural foods are just gonna bring in what we really need to be focusing on to nourish ourselves there. Trying to think what else here. Those are the primary things. Oh, one of the other really good grips is to make sure that every time you're eating something, you balance a protein with a healthy carb, and that can be fruit, veggie. I mean, veggies are your best choice, but just to kind of mitigate the sugar intake on the fruit side of it, because we've done some things to those that make them higher in sugar than they ever used to be in the past. But that's just another little trick to make sure that you're kind of mitigating cortisol or glucose spikes and stuff. So yeah. So those are some quick, easy hits.
Interesting. Yeah, I never really think that much that, if you're not getting your sleep and that how big a part it can play. And
It's huge. It's like, I mean, there's like a toss up. Is that the base or is nutrition the base? And it's like you kind of
yeah,
need both. You kind of need
yeah,
both. You really can't short circuit one for the other. It's kind of a thing. So yeah.
yeah. Excellent. Thank you very much.
Thank
And
you.
Paige, your last question. Which providers are the best to find and contact for customer solutions?
If you can get referrals from, say, outpatient therapy to providers like neurofeedback, or if they know about functional neurology or a nutrition-focused integrative medicine provider, and even therapeutic horseback riding, that's a good place to start. And you can always do your own research too and look those up.
And so those are some of the ones that you've used. And so for looking around, like from outpatients, you said there, or do you have another way for finding those health providers that more?
I've honed my research skills, and actually, I have a YouTube channel. It's the Choose Greater Health Show, and there I've interviewed a number of integrative medicine focused professionals. And so, subscribing to my YouTube channel is my call to action.
Woohoo! I love that. And that's such a great resource there for too, because it can be very hard and complicated trying to find some alternative than just the regular ones that tend to push pills.
Yeah, for my business, I'm creating a directory of those additional providers and resources to go with my community that I envision for brain injury survivors and their caregivers.
Excellent. I think you were having a book coming out. Is that your directory or was that something separate?
Yes, I'm also working on a book that, like the show, has interviews with integrative medicine providers, and that's what I've been working on. I've started with those local to me and expanding.
Wow, what a great resource there. I'm looking forward to seeing that come out. That'll be wonderful resource there. So thank you very much for sharing there. How are we doing time-wise, Cindy? Do we have time for questions or uh, last words of wisdom?
You can do a last word of wisdom as long as it's a little bit short.
Okay, so we'll do a round just quickly. Your last words of wisdom there, starting with Terry.
Remember these 4 words: nourish, restore, connect, and um let's see, relation. Oh, I'm sorry, I goofed up here. Oh, move. Those four
Hey,
words.
hey.
And move. So yes, move your body, which you haven't done enough here tonight.
Yeah,
We got to move more. So
yeah.
yeah, those 4: nourish and restore, connect and move. Just think of that every day.
All right. Mary, what's your words of wisdom for us?
Oh, we already touched on it. Play the music and enjoy your time in the kitchen, and don't see it as a chore. You're nourishing your body, and invite people in if you can. Find kids to teach how to cook and cook with them, and just enjoy your time in the kitchen.
Yeah, get those kids in there cooking too. Ooh,
Yeah, grandma.
yeah.
Yeah.
And Cindy, your words of wisdom.
No, those are 2 hard things to follow right there. They both brought up some great points. But I guess I would say, think about what you put in your body are your building blocks. How are you building your body? You have an opportunity to start over. at any moment in time. The body's very resilient. It knows how to heal. If you feed it correctly, it will heal.
Excellent. And Paige, do you have some last words of wisdom for us?
The National Blood Clot Alliance and the Brain Injury Association of America are good resources, and persistence is key.
Yes. Thank you very much. That was wonderful. I gained so much, and I hope everybody else did too. And with that, I'll turn it back to Cindy.
And I'm excited that our next panel is living sustainably. It's going to be different looks at how to live sustainably. And I'm going to let Terry take it away because she is the moderator of that panel.
Sounds good. Thank you so much. So we have here 4 people on our panel: Patrice Porter and Alicia Capani, Teresa Thomas, and Dorina Lantella. So Patrice, we'll start with Patrice. She's also known as the gardening grandma and is passionate garden
Actually,
consult.
I'll be right back. I just got a
Oh,
break. I'll be
oh, you
right
need a
back.
break. Okay, we're gonna go to Alicia then. So Alicia Capani is a former chemical engineer turned mind-body mentor after struggling with severe depression for 5 years. She assists her clients all over the world to tap into their body's wisdom, to resolve illness, and access their highest possibilities for vitality and abundance. So, welcome, Alicia.
Thanks for
So,
having me.
yes. So, first question for you today is, how did you personally reverse mental and physical illness using the mind-body medicine?
Yeah, so I had severe depression for like 5 years. I had anxiety my entire life. I had social anxiety. I had physical illness as well, like bladder issues, and like I had to take medication for acid reflux and like lots of other things. And it wasn't really until I had depression that I actually cared about healing. And to be honest, it's a really long story. I didn't have any interest in healing at first. I was doing what most people do, which is like the suppressing, distracting, trying to change outer things so that I don't feel what I'm feeling, and didn't have a true interest in healing. And then I went through like a really painful breakup, and then I didn't know what else to do. So I went to my doctor, and they obviously put me on medication because that's what they do. And I had like a really unique experience where the medication like had no effect on me. So I didn't have positive or negative side effects. So I just think that I was way too sensitive, that like no medication could suppress that sensitivity, which now I realize is like a gift that I have. And so I was just like trying everything to heal. I started trying unconventional things after that because like nothing was working for me, and spending thousands of dollars every month just trying everything I could find, and it still wasn't working until I like really softened and surrendered, and I wasn't in this like desperate energy to heal. There was this opening that had me open up to the resource that I actually needed, and that's when I found my mentor who talks a lot about mind body medicine. And there was just something about this that like every cell in my body lit up and was like, this is what you need. And that was the first time ever that like something felt light, because everything before that was just trying a million things and like hoping something sticks. And the difference between mind body medicine and anything else that I tried was that like I was actually getting to the root cause on why did the depression start and what was my body trying to tell me, because I was majorly abandoning my body in every area of my life. And I was a super sensitive person that was suppressing my emotions. And depression is stuck emotions and suppressed emotions. And so, like, the short version is when I actually started welcoming what I was feeling instead of suppressing it, everything started to change for me mentally and physically. So I was just trying to heal from depression, but because I was dissolving all these energies I was carrying that weren't serving me, those were also the root cause of my physical illness as well. So then the physical illnesses went away. The anxiety went away without me even having to try because fear was underneath the anxiety. So when I was welcoming the fear, I was dissolving the anxiety, and I didn't realize how I was healing everything at first. But yeah, essentially, I would say what truly made the difference was like welcoming what I was feeling, like with compassion and unconditional love, versus everything I was trying before was conditional and like make my pain go away, make my pain go away. And that's why nothing was working before that.
That's beautiful story that you've come out on the other end now as a hero, right? It's a great example of the hero's journey, which I would say is most of us we have had our pains kind of fuel our journeys, right, to move forward, which is so inspiring. And I'm sure you're going to be very helpful to a lot of the people listening to your story. So, very good. And next we'll go to Patrice now, since you're back.
Back.
Yes. So, Patrice, first question for you. First of all, your introduction. Patrice Porter, also known as the Gardening Grandma, is a passionate garden consultant and educator who believes in nurturing children's potential through the joy of gardening. Patrice is on a mission to cultivate a love for the natural world, one seed at a time. Thank you, Patrice, for being here with us. My first question for you is, what are some key considerations for beginner gardeners when planning out their first garden, such as choosing the right location and deciding what to plant?
Well, first of all, I would say congratulations to those for taking those first steps to get your gardens going. And to begin with, if you can consider, like for me, gardening's been something that served me for my lifetime. So I want you to have success with your garden so you too can become a lifelong gardener. And the first thing to start off, I call it the 3 Ps. This is the part of gardening that's gonna it might be like 20% of the gardening, but it's gonna give you 80% of the results. And the first P is your planning. And when you're doing your planning, if you started out with like stepping stones, so you've got envision the garden that you want to have, and then you make, so what's the first step you can take towards moving towards that garden? And make it like small little projects that are easy to manage, because it is so easy to get yourself overwhelmed. And that's a first tip for success. Keep it small to begin with, because you can always expand. And then you move like step by step by step, and you're always moving towards that final garden. And then with that, like in your planning, you want to make sure you've got a garden that's going to supply what your plants need. Does it have sunlight? Have you got a water source? Is it accessible so that, if it's way back in the bush somewhere, hard to get at, I imagine it'll just turn to weeds and you won't get much out of it because you won't be going out there much. So even having stuff right by your door, so it's right there when you want something to put in your meals, you can go snip it and add it in. And then like, is there a bit of shelter? Like you don't want it in the most windiest part of your property, because sometimes you don't have much options, but then you might think about putting up something that can put a bit of a windbreak in there. Also, like your soil, you want to make sure that you've got that good foundation for your soil, so that you've got a healthy soil. It's going to make healthy plants, which is going to make a healthier you. And with that, the soil, the next P is your prep. So always, like again, starting gathering everything you're going to need. If you've got it handy, then you're not going to be wasting time trying to figure out, oh, where is this? What's that? And are going back and forth and back and forth. So if you can gather everything together and have it right handy, like your seeds, your your tools, your forks, rakes, hose, um, if you're doing soil prep, if that's your first step you're doing there, like the um, your amendments to put in there. And so prepping your soil, it goes back to that. You want that healthy soil. And one of the first best ways I find is to get the habit of composting. So that you've got that compost there at the beginning of the year. If you put a couple of inches of compost on your garden, that's usually enough to feed everything for the year. And if it isn't, like, try to stay to more natural. You can make your compost tea or whatever it is there. And then uh, making sure that you make it a plan for your planting. Like you're prepping everything, and that too, like your structures, like your trellises, things like that. Get them in place. That'll make it easier for you as you're going along. I know I'm guilty sometimes, like I'm so anxious to get everything planted and in, and then if the season gets away and I didn't trellis my peas and they're laying on the ground, and when you're trying to pick them up, and you're just not going to get the production you wanted. So that can go in your prepping there and then into your planting, and decide whether you're going to go by seed or seedlings. And if you have some extra seedlings, so that if something doesn't uh, germinate or there's holes, you can always fill them in. And that's your 3 Ps there, and get you off to a good start and hopefully having much success in your gardening.
Well, that was very informational, Patrice. Thank you. So the 3 Ps, I love that. Nice and easy to remember. Planning, prepping, and planting. Very good. Thank you. So next, we'll go on to our next presenter, Teresa Thomas. Teresa Thomas, author, speaker, and mentor, helps parents and families build healthier, toxin-free lives while nurturing spiritual and emotional well-being. After developing multiple chemical sensitivities in the early 90s and enduring a decade of disability, she transformed her journey into a mission to protect children and empower families to thrive. She is the author of the upcoming book, From Toxic to Green, the new parenting guide for maximum family health. Welcome, Teresa.
Thank
My
you,
first
Terry.
question for you is, you speak about, finding balance oftentimes and resilience in chaotic times. So what would be the first step someone could take when they're feeling completely overwhelmed?
Well, the first step is to just stop and take a deep breath. That is really the first step. And sometimes we forget how to breathe, and sometimes we're so distracted we're not breathing properly. So really, there's a deep breath in, counting to 7, and going all the way down to your diaphragm, which is by your belly, and then up into the lungs and up into the upper chest, and as much as you can, just breathing up, imagining actually going up into your top of your brain and taking that breath in, counting to 7, then holding for 4 counts, and then breathing out slowly through your mouth for 8 counts. If you do 3 of those, all of a sudden everything else around you is not going to matter that much. So that's really number one. And I was also thinking about when you get up in the morning, before you grab your phone or jump out of bed because you're in a rush, just take a couple of minutes, put your feet on the floor while you're still on the bed, and do 2 or 3 nice deep breaths, and just, give yourself a hug or a pat on the back, just to remember who you are, and that, the world is going to go on. We don't have to be there at exactly this moment.
Oh, I love that. That is so true. I remember in my health coaching instruction, the presenter said, if you can just help someone breathe, you can do a world of good. So that
Right.
is really, really important what you just said there. And taking the time to do the deep belly breaths, like you mentioned. Yeah. In
Hmm.
fact, I remember hearing one time that you cannot have a panic attack if you just start breathing like that.
That's right. It's the
Like you
shallow
can
breaths
stop
that
it.
doesn't, yeah,
Hmm.
the shallow breaths don't get the oxygen to your brain or to the rest of your systems. So then you're getting more and more tense, more and more tight. So yes, absolutely.
Excellent. Thank you so much for that. Now, is Darina here? I don't see her here.
No, unfortunately, she is in Italy. I thought she was going to be on the East Coast, but it's
Okay.
a little bit too late for her.
All right. Well, we will go back then to Alicia. Alicia, next question that I have for you. How do we get to the root cause of what's really going on that's causing illness?
Yeah, so your body is giving you signals, but actually your entire life and every single trigger is giving you a signal. So, because like I said earlier, your consciousness is creating your reality, and that includes the illness. There's a particular energy, particular thoughts, and particular emotions that created that exact illness. And you can look this up in mind body medicine, like what are the common emotional causes for this illness that I'm having or these symptoms that I'm having. It's not hard to figure it out, but what I would say to people is don't even try to figure it out because that will just keep you in your mind. Just
Mm.
welcome every single trigger and welcome what the illness is bringing up for you emotionally. So, is it bringing up fear? Is it bringing up powerlessness? And like, you do not even need to name the emotion as long as you are welcoming it instead of resisting it, because that's exactly why the illness is here is to show you where you're not aligned with your natural state, what you're carrying that isn't serving you. And so as long as you're welcoming it and not resisting it, your body already knows how to transmute energy. So the main thing you can do is bring more awareness to what you're feeling and experiencing rather than less. That's something I see a lot of people missing when they get an illness, especially if they get like an illness that brings up a lot of fear and then you ask them how they're feeling, they're like, "I'm not scared. What are you talking about? I'm not scared." And it's like, "I'm fighting through this." And it's like, you're not actually meant to fight through the experience or the emotions because the illness is here for you to have that exact experience. So suppressing it will never create true change. So the most you can do is just move the parts around or feel like temporary relief. Or you might see like the illness technically go away, but because the consciousness that created it is still the same, you'll manifest another illness, or the symptoms will come back, or there'll just be another problem in your life that makes you feel the exact same way. So I would say if you're ever confused on what is the root cause of my illness, ask yourself what about it triggers me? What does it bring up emotionally? And welcome that. And as long as you're welcoming every single trigger in your life, it's impossible for you to miss it and not heal the root cause of it. You're muted, Terry.
That's excellent advice, Alicia. Welcoming it instead of resisting. I can see how that could be very, very helpful to people just to, again, welcome in all of those triggers, like you said. And I loved what you said too. Your consciousness is creating your reality. And it gets into, how the mind creates a lot of our illnesses, right? So getting out of the
Yeah.
mind and more into the heart is what I'm hearing you say. Beautiful. Okay, next question is for Patrice. Patrice, what do you suggest for folks who want to do organic gardening?
I'm going to take you back to your soil again. It's a living organism, and you want to have that whole healthy soil, and using organic um, compounds to build it up, and like the compost again, or biochar, or there's different elements. But if you can build that up and get your healthy plants, then the healthy plants are going to be more resilient. So you won't be needing those pesticides and things like that. The bugs are going to go out after the weaker plants. The yellowing leaves will attract the bugs. And then being really vigilant. Take your daily walks in your garden and checking things out so that you can, catch if there's any pests or anything moving in or disease, you catch it early. And then again, that there's no need to be using pesticides and herbicides if you can make sure they've got everything they need. And when you give them what they need, they grow very healthy, and they're going to give you what you're going to need. And then, like, follow nature's lead with the biodiversity. Like, you go into a wild spot, it's not just a plot of something here, a plot of something there. There's so much biodiversity there, and people talk about like companion planting. There's certain plants that are working together that will help them grow better, um, working in symbiotic relation to make everything grow better. And also too, like for your bugs, like if you work to attract those beneficial insects, invite them into your garden and plant, for your pollinators. And it's all about that health of the garden, and following nature's lead, keeping that balance. And then you can stay away from the pesticides and herbicides, and there really isn't a need for it at all. And yeah.
I
Yeah.
like what you said there about the composting too, as being critical. Um, Guessing that you wouldn't advocate for, but you can correct me, like if you buy bananas, like they say you can buy bananas that, you don't have to buy the organic ones, for example, because, they're not as sprayed. So would you recommend not composting a banana peel, for example?
I I mean, it's how strict you want to be of going
Hmm.
organic. I do. I like most of my foods, I try to buy organic for myself anyways, but bananas, stuff like that, I'm still gonna throw them in. And
Oh, okay.
but also think, I mean, as I said, most of the foods I want, if I'm buying something, I would be looking for the organic stuff anyways. And knowing that when I'm growing, it's organic, and that's a lot. What feeds my garden is the plant material. It doesn't go into the landfills, it goes into the compost. Yeah.
Mm, nice. Thank you so much. Yeah. Okay. Next question is for Teresa. The Ho'oponopono prayer is an essential part of your work. How does this practice help people move toward forgiveness and reconciliation in their daily lives?
Well, I don't know if you all know the prayer. It is,
No.
um, sorry, Please forgive me. I love you. No. Yeah. Please forgive me. I'm sorry. Thank you. I love you. I think that's right. Isn't it funny how you have these things memorized and then they're gone? But I actually had to do this recently because I have a conflict with my neighbor. And his mother was my friend and neighbor for 27 years, and now her son is living there. And, part of the issue for her doing maid was that she couldn't actually, um, she found that whatever it was coming off of him was making her sick. And it wasn't any fragrance products or anything like that. He did everything he should have. It must have been just something. And so, of course, I was a little upset with him. And I asked him one day, what could it have been that your mom was allergic to? So he took that as a great affront that I was saying that his mother was allergic to him. And we've come into some difficulty. So I said, okay, I have to do the Ho'oponopono prayer. Now, how many people know about the Ho'oponopono prayer? Just put your hands up. A number, yeah. And so you probably know that it started, well, it's a Hawaiian prayer. And one of the medicine people told the psychiatrist at a medical psychiatric institution in Hawaii about it. And he started taking home files. The place was apparently very toxic and dangerous. The staff would walk along the halls with their back to the hall because they were afraid of being grabbed or stabbed or something. So he took home the files and did the prayer over, 3 or 4 people every week. And eventually everybody was cured and left because he was doing this prayer, which is all about us forgiving them, right? Instead of asking them to forgive us. So I'm doing this prayer and I was working on it all week. And all of a sudden, I got at the thank you, I got, oh, yes, thank you. Because if he had not come and lived with her when he did, she would have had to go to a nursing home. So it was a really major heart change. And then when I got home, I got a letter from him that was somewhat of a reconciliation. So it was interesting how working on my own thoughts actually shifted the thoughts there and shifted the process that we were working on. So that's a really good thing. And well, good, bad. I don't like to use judgmental words like that, but it was very powerful as a release. And I think often we are judging other people and look what's going on in the world right now. There's a lot of upset at one group or another group or one thought process or another thought process. And just to be able to step back and recognize that everybody is coming from their own point of view and really all they want to do is be loved and be healed. So the more that we as individuals can work on saying these prayers or sending this kind of energy, the better. I also had a time years ago at the time of the Iran-Iraq war, and you remember ISIS was very prevalent at the time. There's always going to be a group of people who feel that they're wronged. It just doesn't matter. That's the way humans work. And we were drumming, and I went into a meditative state and went to some place where they were meeting in a cave. And I just focused on this one person, and I could feel at some point like a spark of love just opened up in him. And I knew he was going to be no longer doing that. It was very powerful. So we can do this with, our neighbor, somebody across the world, or ourselves. And when you get reflected back to you what you're putting out. So as long as we put out upset and anger, we're going to see that all around us. And someone was telling me recently, and I'm sorry, I don't know the source, but somebody said we are going to have 1,000 years of peace. And I don't know if that's written in Nostradamus' book or if it's somewhere else, but um, because we're at the very beginning of the century, we have to remember we're only in the first 20 years of the century. This is like a grain of sand compared to the other, you know, what, 980 years that are left. And so the, you know, the Aquarius story and the peace story are still very much possible. And we're just in that time now where there's a push and pull. So just remembering all of that, taking that deep breath, and being kind to ourselves, and you know, forgiving ourselves for whatever we're doing, and try to come back down to um, seeing the love that everybody either has or needs. Thank you.
Thank you, Teresa. I love that prayer. I remember using it when I was on my bicycle and I was passing a woman who was just walking and she was listening to something and you gave an audible warning, you know, and I did it 2 times, right? And I said, passing, and I passed her and she turned around and she yelled at me. She said, you would have been nice if you would have told me that you were coming. And I did it twice. And I said, oh, I did, hun. And then she kept on going on. And I started doing the prayer. I started doing this prayer. And it just helped me to like, okay, something, you know, just forgive me for that. You know, something inside me, of course, was sparked her to react that way. So it's like forgiving myself for having contributed to her. She probably was just startled, you know. So, anyways, yeah, it's a really great prayer, and I encourage people to utilize that modality. That's wonderful. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, so we're next on. Who is we're next on here? We're going back to Alicia again. Okay, Alicia, what was one thing you wish you knew back then that could have sped up your healing journey?
Yeah, there's quite a few things. I wish I knew how my body's wisdom speaks to me and that actually everyone has their body's wisdom speaking to them, but everyone's intuition speaks to them a little bit differently. But yeah, I wish I knew that, like, for someone who is like claircognizant, clairsentient, like more of a feeler and a knower, that like if something feels heavy, it's not what my body's asking for. It's my body's way of telling me, like, don't go in this direction. This is not what I need. And heavy is definitely different than triggered. Like heavy means like this doesn't resonate at all and it's like so dense. And like that was the feeling I had when I took my first antidepressant. I just sat there and I just cried and I was like, I don't want to take this. And my body was making it so clear, like, this is not what I'm asking for. But I did not know that at all, you know? And I think we were pretty much taught the opposite of that. Like, oh, you have to like push and effort and who cares if it's hard, you have to do it, and like not realizing that like if something feels really light and resonant, that's your body's way of saying go in this direction. And that was the experience that I had, you know, once I finally found the resource I needed. It felt really, really light, and that's the only thing that felt that way, and everything else felt really, really heavy, but I still did it anyways because I didn't understand my body was, you know, trying to tell me not to even waste time, energy, and money on that. So I would have healed so much faster if I knew that. I would have saved myself a ton of time, ton of money if I was just honoring my body and listening to that. And then also like I wish I could tell myself that like feeling what you're like there's no threat in feeling what you're feeling because I just feel like a lot of people when they're going through something really tough, they try to like be positive about what they're going through. And that just has you feel your emotions less, temporarily less. So then it's harder to access them and dissolve them. And so I see that as one of the most common ways that people are resisting their healing and blocking their healing is trying to be overly positive when they actually feel like shit and they're like putting ice cream on top of poop. So yeah, I wish I could just tell myself like there is absolutely no threat in feeling what you're already carrying. These energies are already in your body. And actually, by bringing awareness to them, that's what lets them dissolve. And yeah, so I would have told myself that. And yeah, that those are like kind of the main things. And actually, about the Ho'oponopono prayer, like it's kind of interesting that you brought that up. Like I just did a master class on it the other day, and I was saying that he healed the entire ward except for one person. So what that shows you is that yes, we're extremely powerful, but also everyone has free will. So also how we were talking about power versus force, like it talks about how one person in the consciousness of love counteracts 750,000 people in any energy below 200. So obviously we're extremely powerful. We're creating our entire reality. We're having an effect on everyone around us, but people also have free will. So if you're doing all this healing work and the people around you are not interested in healing at all, there's a couple things that will happen. They'll either fade out of your life, or they will change, or they'll be different around you. Like maybe they are not truly healing, but when they're around you, they're just different. So no matter what is, if you shift your consciousness to peace, your reality is peaceful no matter what. So yeah, I just wanted to touch on that.
Well, you did a great job of giving your insights, listening to the body, avoid trying to be overly positive and allow those motions to work through those and to allow people to have free will. And yeah, that's really awesome. Thank you so much, Alicia, for contributing that way.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Now, our next question is for Patrice. How can beginner gardeners develop a maintenance schedule and routine to ensure their garden remains healthy and productive throughout the growing season?
Okay, I'm going to take you back to your planning, and I hope that when you did your planning, you had your gardening work into your lifestyle. If you've got a really busy lifestyle, you probably don't want to have a really big garden. And, so I'm hoping that you did, had worked that into your plans, but also like those plans that you set it up, those stepping stones, that they can actually become like a system for you. And knowing that each garden season is another opportunity to hone in the details of your garden for what's going to work for you. So I would encourage you, like your beginning steps, like start your gardening journal so that you're recording what's working for you and what's not, so you can have something to go back and look at. And then after you, those are kind of the beginning steps, but then start to look at um, what you're doing, your systems that you have in place. What are some things that you might be able to eliminate or automate or just change around, like with your watering? Some people really like just to water by hand because that gives the opportunity to, um, check on your plants and have some moments with your plants, and or others might, an irrigation system, can make that chore much more automatic and ensure it happens. So things like that, or your um uh what's other automations, like if you've done your prep beforehand too, then all the like if you've got things mulched really well, that's going to cut down the amount of watering, and the it's going to keep the soils cooler, and so it's that prep time too. And if you've got your trellises all up, then it's you've that work has been done. And so that it won't be needed to repeat it. And it makes for gardening a lot easier if you've done that ahead time. And with that, as I say, the mulching, it keeps the water, but also keeps the weeds down. So do things ahead of time so it makes your gardening season easier, and then look at what you could eliminate and what you could possibly automate, and make sure your gardening is fitting into your lifestyle.
Wow, that's a lot of great information there. I love that. Stepping stones, starting a gardening journal. Never heard of that before, so I love that idea. And then thinking about, yeah, your systems for either eliminating, automating, or irrigating, you mentioned, and then doing a lot of stuff ahead of time. Wonderful. Thank you, Patrice, for sharing your expertise with us too on the gardening. And my last question is for Teresa. Teresa, you highlight the wisdom of the elements: water, fire, earth, nature, and mineral. Could you share how one of these elements has guided you personally, or how families can use them to restore balance?
Sure, and I just should just add that I also do uh, studied the Dagra medicine from West Africa, and there the elements are very paramount. My teacher, who's now deceased, Malidoma Some, translated everything for us in the West and came up with a medicine wheel with those 5 elements. So the one that I find is most powerful is water. And actually, I've been walking, I live by the ocean, a little inlet near the Atlantic Ocean. And I've been standing in the water pretty well every morning for the last month, and just allowing the water to help cool me down or whatever. Because in Nova Scotia, we've had the whole province is bright red with a fire alert until Friday night. Was the first time in about 7 weeks that we actually got rain, and one part of the province that was the driest and had a wildfire still hasn't gotten enough rain. So anyway, so I've been standing in the water, but the other ritual that we do with water is pouring the water. And this is a symbolic way of actually releasing something. So as long as you're pouring the water into a living body of water, like a stream, a brook, a lake, a pond, that's going to drain eventually down to the ocean from whatever watershed it's in. Or if you're pouring into the ocean, as long as it's on the outgoing tide, not on the incoming tide, you can pour all kinds of things away. And it is amazing how it helps transform energies, feelings, and the whole bit. So that's the one I would say is the most important to work with. It's very, very powerful. And I wanted to just add, Alicia, I also had I had really severe environmental, and I went to the environmental medicine clinic in Halifax, and they wanted me to take Advil, and which is a very mild, I don't know what it is, mild, whatever. And so I took it for 4 days, and I was feeling incredibly weird. So I stopped taking it. And I went back and I said, I'm not taking the Advil. And they said, well, why not? I said, well, because it made me feel sick. I'm sick enough as it is. I don't need to add something else to my body that makes me feel sick. They said, well, if you just persisted, you'd probably feel better. And of course, that is physical maladaptation, right? And I always use that example. Oh, if you ever did smoke, if your first puff, you feel really dizzy, and then you barely get through that cigarette, and then everybody says, oh, you'll get over it, have another one. And after about 6, you don't notice that you were getting dizzy and not feeling well. And we maladapt to so many things. So I was not having any of this maladapting to Advil.
That's a great example, Teresa. I
Yeah.
rem I remember too when working as a social worker, a lot of elderly people I was serving, and they were not thinking about the medicine too much that they were taking for years and years and years. And then the liver, their livers cannot, process that heavy dose of medicine that they used to take 20 years ago. So they start having problems. And then you're running into things like dizziness and, falls and things that can end their life really quickly, right? So I like what you said about the medicine because our bodies do change, and tuning into that can be very preventative. Like if you are recognizing, hey, maybe I need to start questioning something that I'm always taking. It could be actually harming you now than, than what we give it credit for. So I appreciate
Right.
that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But and that's cool. Pouring water into something is symbolic of releasing energies. I love that. All right. Well, I believe that concludes our panel discussion. Is there anything else anybody would like to share in terms of words of wisdom?
I can pitch in here. I'm always big on getting the kids into the garden, and especially like the kids are so much stuck on their devices, and it's an opportunity to have an up close connection with nature. And when you do bring them in, give them lots of time to explore and experience that up close connection. So get your gardens growing and get your kids out there with you.
Love that, Patrice. That's great. Yeah. Anybody else like to share any last words of wisdom?
Well, I'll just add in a reminder about breathing, the deep breath. You don't have to go and grab your device before your eyes are even open. You can just, take a moment, remember who you are, get the belly breath, and, connect with the earth, even if you're in your bedroom or your bed. Just connect with who you are and take a deep breath before you start the day.
Love that. Breathe before looking at the phone. Anybody else like to share? Lisha, did you want any last
Yeah, I'll
word?
just share like what Teresa was talking about. Like they definitely tried to make me feel bad that the medication didn't resonate or that it wasn't working. And I would say like trust your body, like it knows more than anyone outside of you. And there's just so many times the doctors have told me like you can't heal this. Like I even had eye floaters in the left side of my eyes, couldn't see. And they're like, "Yeah, you're just gonna get used to it." It's like how you can't see your nose. They're like, "Eventually, you're just gonna be used to this is how you see." And then I healed that within a week. And so it was just like if what they're saying feels heavy, it means it's a lie. And so I'm not gonna buy into it. So yeah, just trust your body. It knows what's possible for you.
Yes, I love that too. So love that because it goes to show, I mean, all our bodies are different, and what works for one person too isn't always a great thing for the next person, right? Because like you, Alicia, too, I've always been real sensitive to things, even things like caffeine and carbs. I mean, so it's even tuning into those things, that, oh, carbs are good for us or fruit is good for us. Well, depends, right? So, yeah, everybody has different needs, and it's really good advice to tune into your own body's needs at all times. So, love that. Okay, very good. We are on to the next part of our panel discussion. And that's the closing and wrap up, I believe, huh, Cindy?
That's exactly true. And I thank you so much for being the great moderator that you are. And I'm going to basically unpin some people, and then we're going to go with Patrice, and she's going to help me do closing. But I'd like everyone to go around and say what they're grateful for, and if they have a takeaway from the day. I know there's a lot of information, and we'll just see whoever volunteers first. Um, okay, Dawn.
Unmute.
I'm incredibly grateful I can hear you while I'm on mute. Otherwise, I'd still be going. I am incredibly grateful for the group of humans that I have met today who are amazing and who all have this need to share love. I think it's amazing. I am so grateful for it. Cindy, thank you so much for your patience with me and for bringing me here. Very much appreciated. What an incredible life we live. Very, very grateful. I learned that there are another group of individuals who are heart-centered, who live and love outside of themselves. And that to me is what's going to build us back up. That to me is what's going to create where we're going. And I'm thrilled to be a part. Thank you very much.
Beautiful.
Well, I think that's the only reason to live on this planet, right? That we can actually just fill it with love. And you just get more love when you love. It's kind of like the most abundant thing, and everybody is so thinking they're lacking,
Yeah.
you know?
And I love this that coming together. Like I just really feel a close. We're all in a group hug here, and we've come together so beautifully, sharing. And I've come away with a wealth of knowledge and inspiration, and gonna go continue to live my best life ever.
And Mary, I think that you had your hand up earlier.
Yeah, I don't know how that happened, but
Oh.
I just want to say it's nice to see Alicia here. A lot of us, you know, we learn our through our struggles and health problems, and it's nice to see someone younger figuring it out before getting so old. There's hope. Yeah, it's a wonderful group. I learned more about everybody today, and I look forward to seeing the replay. I took some time out to talk to my son who lives on the other side of the country, so I missed a bit of it. But yeah, it was wonderful to hear people and learn more, and I've got some notes put together, and yeah, just really, and thank you, Cindy, for bringing this community together. I really appreciate it. I know everybody in this room does too. And yeah, and thanks for your patience with me too. Yeah, I've kind of taken on a few more things, and it's just getting to be a big messy pile. So appreciate Cindy's patience and contribution.
Oh, thank
Good
you.
day. Thanks, everybody.
I can go next. And of course, Cindy, thank you for your patience with me too. I was thinking, how many people are bothering Cindy these last 2 days? She doesn't even get to sleep. Anyway, I'm very pleased to have been here. I'm sorry I wasn't here all day, and I hope to listen to some of the other talks. And I just feel so calm when I'm here. It's so wonderful to be around like-minded people, and not just Alicia, but also Paige, the young people coming forward with their experiences and their transformations because they're thinking clearly. It is inspiring. Thank you.
And Gloria.
I appreciate the diversity of the perspectives, the topics, and the ways in which all of this is connected. And having it in one room allows viewers to be able to find the nuggets within one that they relate to that are then connected with nuggets for things they have yet to be aware of. And that will exponentially expand not only our own, but their wisdom, their knowledge, and their vision for their future and the future of others.
That's very well said. And that really is trying to break down the silos. I actually mean that they're ways of looking at the world that we think we only have. But it's really universal. And if you want to say that, oh, it's ancient wisdom, or if you want to go into it, you know, through indigenous wisdom, if you want to, I learned it from, you know, somebody that never thought that she was an herbalist, but she was from Sweden. So, however, we come to this point in life, we are all helping to heal not just ourselves, but our planet. And I think that's exciting. And Alicia, I think you want to say something?
Yeah, I wanted to say thank you to Teresa and Mary for saying that about my age. Like, I guess I don't realize enough how grateful I am that this happened to me so young. And I think it's because I'm so sensitive that I have this awareness at such a young age. So I guess I'm very grateful for being sensitive and not being able to numb out. It just wasn't an option for me, you know, and I think that's why it takes so many people so long to learn these things or to heal is because they're less sensitive. So it just needs to get louder and louder and louder. So grateful for the fact that you guys shared that and grateful for my sensitivity. And my greatest takeaway, like what Mary was saying about listening to music while you cook, like I don't enjoy cooking. And sometimes I listen to music, but not all the time. And like my intention this entire week has been how can I make every single task more enjoyable? And if I can't find a way to make it enjoyable, does this even need to be done? Could I take it off my plate? So that was just even more of a reminder, like how can I make cooking more enjoyable or like just every little task that I do throughout the day. So that was my greatest takeaway.
Fantastic. And Terry.
I'm just grateful for having you all here in one spot too, and the synergy that I am feeling with 1 + 1 + 1 equals not 3, but so much more than that. I love the synergistic effect. And so grateful to be a part of this community with like-minded folks, and also just even knowing that somebody's even aware of the scale of consciousness. Like I was like, oh my, this is wonderful. I mean, somebody that I can actually relate to when I talk about this stuff, because I talk about it a lot with other people, but not everybody understands it or wants to, right? The curiosity is not always there to when you present different things. So it's just nice to be aware of other people who are like on the same level, or we're always going up and down on that scale. But if I say to myself, where do I want to live? And I want to live in the love and the peace part. So trying to, if I'm feeling the fear, okay, let's work through that. Let's get to the love and the joy right now and the peace again. So it's just those are like those little messages. Like here I'm at the scale. Now how can I move myself up for every instance? So that's I loved everything so much. So thank you so much, everybody.
Yeah. And such a wide variety. I love that. And for me, there's so many new things. And it's that keeping that open mind that we can start to realize that there's always so much more that we can learn and grow. And why not grow together in a community?
Okay, I'm not sure if anyone else wants to add anything. So if you can just put up your hand so I know, just in case you don't know how to use the little the reactions, you know. So, well, we started the day with intention. And I think that going forward, I feel like I have a renewed intention that this really has to grow around the world, that we have to get other voices, especially male voices. I've asked lots of males, and for whatever reason, they not, not really here. Now I know Kurt is here and he doesn't want to maybe go on camera, but he was on camera quite a lot. So I want to thank him for being here. And I also want to say, is there anyone else that has any pressing questions or anything like that? Um, you know, now is the time to ask those.
I want to just add in here, I missed out, like with Dawn, I really want to connect with you but just about every plant you mentioned in there, it was like, oh, I was wondering what I could do and use that for. And it was like, this is just so amazing. So yeah. And you're on mute.
Computer loves me more
Yeah.
and more every day. It's the plants are amazing. I just, yeah, they're sorry, I get giddy about plants. I'm like a little kid at Christmas. There are so many that you can use. Just my email address is my first and last name at outlook.com. And I can send you tons of information. I love sharing plant stuff. We've got everything we need right outside. It's just insane that we aren't using it.
Yeah.
And I get to put fresh aloe all the time so I won't get wrinkles. And, you know, so wherever you are, I grew up having a whole different East Coast plants in New England and everything like that. And what's fantastic is wherever you are in the world, there are lots and lots of healing plants. So, you know, I think that's incredibly exciting. And then if you add in seaweed and mushrooms and all the various other things, wow.
If you go into the world of mushrooms,
Yeah.
do you know that the chaga mushroom
Mm.
is the same medicine as the inner layer of the birch tree? So if you ever want to propagate mushrooms, make an X, score an X down to the second layer of the birch bark. Make sure it's not on the north side of the tree. The north side always gets the worst weather. So score the south side and then take the chaga mushroom and rub it in. And the spores will come and bring the medicine from the inside. It's incredible.
Wow.
It's just, there's medicine everywhere, like everywhere. So, and the yellow bark of the birch is kidney medicine. So if one ever falls, get to it right away, go down to that yellow layer, dry it, grate it, put it in a capsule, you've got kidney medicine. Like, it's just like, forget about it. Like, you can do anything with plants. It's amazing. So I could go on for like the next 5 hours. I really could. I'm sorry. I just get so excited.
And we're going to make sure that you get to do that. So I also want to really recognize that we're also talked about how the mind affects us, right? How the emotions absolutely affect us, and how we really physically need to breathe, the simple things. I know I've had lots of water, right? And it's hard to see, but I have lemon in there and I have basil because today I needed to have some basil in me. So, someone just said they tried aloe for the skin. So, everyone has different skin textures, but aloe is known to help with burns. So, one of the reasons that it is healing with burns is it can have a drying effect. So, just like I don't remember who mentioned that not every remedy is the same for each person. So yeah, it's really personalized medicine that we're talking about. And I just want to let everyone know that we're going to have a debriefing tomorrow for the people that were participating in the panels at 8 a.m. Pacific time. And hopefully you can make that and we can talk about our event in December.
On this link, Cindy, or on your other
No,
link?
on
On
the
the other.
on the other link, and everyone will be getting that.
Okay. Thank you.
So, if anyone else has anything else that they want to add, this is the time. Otherwise, I'm going to say a wonderful good night, and this was a fantastic 5 hours.
Ooh, it was.
So, I am grateful to each and every one of you for
Oh,
taking the
Lori,
time.
Gloria has her hand up.
Oh,
What
please.
is the link for the call? Are we doing Zoom?
Yes, it's Zoom, and I will actually put the link in right now because I thought that most everybody had it. But if you don't, I will get that now.
That is appreciated. Amongst all of the emails, finding it would be cumbersome. So it's very welcome.
Okay.
And while you're doing that, Cindy, I'm just thinking about this is going to be available for a couple of days for people to listen to as well. Is that correct?
Well, what it's going to do is it's going to go up on a YouTube channel. Plus, I'm going to be sending it out to everyone, and it won't be available probably until tomorrow.
Right. And then people can listen to it for a while. What is the VIP? What is the
Absolutely.
difference with VIP and the YouTube channel?
Well, right now we're not doing any VIP, so everything will be
Oh,
open.
oh, okay, great. So people will be
Okay.
able to go to the YouTube channel and check out all these wonderful talks.
Right. And we have other summits there, and we have lots of other, and our YouTube channel needs a little love.
yeah.
Okay.
I
So,
put the
that'd be
Zoom
good.
link in there, Cindy. I found it and put it in for you.
Okay. I was putting in the debrief info.
Okay.
So, well, thank you so much. And hopefully we'll see some of you tomorrow. And I thank everyone for, the wisdom. Experiential wisdom is hard won. So,
Mm,
and that's what we have.
right.
Okay.
Thank you, everyone.
See you tomorrow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank
Bye
you.
for now.
Bye-bye.
Wonderful. Bye.
Thank you so
That's
much,
not
Teresa.
right. You're welcome. Just give me a minute. I thought I copied the link and I didn't.
You're going to be getting an email.
Okay. Like somebody said, I hope I can find it. Anyway, I've
Okay,
got
well,
this.
then I'll wait for you to copy the link.
I've got it. Thanks a lot.
Okay. All right.
Okay. Thank
Take
you
care.
so much.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.